So I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I am officially hooked on this game now. Like, it's kind of crazy. We basically went from a World of Warcraft channel to a full-on RuneScape channel at this point, and honestly, I'm perfectly okay with that. So if you're not caught up at this point, essentially the last 2 or 3 videos I made have been me as a World of Warcraft player doing a group Iron Man playthrough of OSRS with my friends. And I think it's safe to say this project has been a major success, and honestly, I've absolutely fallen in love with this game, and we've turned it into a bit of a series now at this point. So last time we left off, I was doing the Merlin's Crystal quest, where I died in the dungeon and had to do a very long run back because I didn't really know the transportation around RuneScape too well yet. So in the meantime, after reading some comments from the last video and studying the wiki, I finally feel like I have a good understanding of the charter ship locations now, so I don't think we'll have a long run like that again. So then we did this little murder mystery quest, which I can't remember the name of, and actually, fun fact about this quest, but apparently it's one of the few quests in the game where the result is actually randomized, so your murderer is going to be different than the next person's murderer. And of course, mine was Bob. God damn it, Bob. So then I finally went on to finish the fishing contest quest, which a lot of people said in the comments of the last video that it's actually the quest that gives you access to the staircase that goes underneath the mountain so you don't have to run through the mountain, which I had to do last time. And for some reason you're competing against Dracula of all people, so that's cool, I guess. I also came across an NPC named No Shirt Sherlock, which, not gonna lie, gave me a pretty good laugh. So then after finishing up some minor quest lines I'd been working on, I finally started the Black Knight's Fortress quest. And I mean, these Black Knight dudes, like, they're pretty tanky. Like, it took me a while to kill them, and for some reason I was killing, like, every single one in my way, and then they just kept respawning, so I realized, like, what was the point of that? So, yeah. So I made my way through the fortress, and eventually I got to this door I couldn't go through, so, of course I kept killing the guard over and over again, and realized that it was actually the guard I was supposed to talk to get through the door, so that's fun. And I make my way all the way to the very end of the fortress, and of course I do the noobiest thing possible, and I ate the cabbage instead of throwing it down the hole. Yeah. I'm in a bad habit of just clicking on things rather than like right-clicking on them and looking at the options I have. So I had to run all the way back to the little cabbage patch to pick some more cabbages, which thankfully I did pick a few this time and used it to restore a bit of my health, so at least there was a bit of a positive here and I didn't have to worry about dying. Then I made my way all the way back through the fortress the same way I came and finally finished up the quest. So then I gotta do this cool little Knight's Trial quest, which basically involves a bunch of different puzzles that I had to solve. So the first one put me in this room with essentially just a locked door and a bunch of items that I basically had to figure out how to use, and I, of course, just went straight to OSRS Wiki and looked up everything I needed, so I went and looted everything around the room, and then followed exactly the order I needed to use things in, except I still got a bit stumped because by the time I made the key, for some reason it wasn't working on the door, and I didn't realize that the key was actually for the second door, and there was a whole other process I had to do to get through the first door, so yeah. So then the second puzzle, we basically had to move the fox, the chicken, and the grain across the bridge, except if you left the fox alone with the chicken, it would eat the chicken, and if you left the chicken alone with the grain, it would eat the grain. So you had to kind of figure out how to get them over the bridge, and I do pride myself a bit here because I actually figured this one out all on my own. So then the next challenge, I had to fight this dude with no weapons, which was kind of funny because OSRS Wiki essentially told me like this whole strategy I had to use where I had to like pick up and use the weapon and then make sure you drop the weapon before you kill him because then you'll fail the test. But I actually just punched him to death because he was like significantly lower level than me, so that was an easy one. For the last one, I essentially just had to memorize the pattern of the statues, which somehow the first one I picked was actually the correct answer, which I'm not gonna lie, I took a bit of a wild card guess on that one. And I was actually pretty stoked when I finished this quest because I actually got my first cool helmet in this game, the Initiate's helm. Just look at that juicy drip. So then before I headed over to the observatory quest, I had to pick up some super anti-poisons off the ground, which Not 100% sure why I need those, but I guess apparently I needed 6 full bottles of them, and you only pick them up as quarter bottles, so you basically just have to server hop until you combine them to get 6 full bottles. So then we started the observatory quest, which sent me to this little underground goblin dungeon, which there was a pretty serious warning before entering, so it kind of spooked me a bit, because I really don't want to die again. But we went in anyways, and it turned out the goblins were actually pretty harmless, except for this one guard who absolutely hit like a truck, so I had to get him stuck behind a wall so I could go in the little kitchen area. And the rest was pretty straightforward. Wasn't my favorite quest in the world, so we moved on pretty quick. So then we headed on back to Lumbee to start Lost Tribe, which there was actually a bit of a mistake in the Iron Man guide I've been following, because it doesn't get you to do the quest Goblin Diplomacy for another 20 steps, but you actually need to finish that quest in order to start the Lost Tribe, so I had to head all the way up and start Goblin Diplomacy. But before I did that, I decided to get a few chores done in Varrock first and finish the Into the Abyss quest, which, whew, I will say made me panic a bit, because basically I went to the bank to grab my scrying orb to finish it off, and my scrying orb was nowhere to be found. Like, it was just straight up missing. Like, I searched for it and it was just gone. I have absolutely no idea where it went, and I don't think I would have just randomly dropped it, because I don't really do that, so I'm wondering if I lost it on death last time I died. So I was actually pretty panicked that I was going to have to go to all these stupid mining locations again from the new scrying orb I got from the Mage of Zamorak, but thank God I didn't, and I just had one last location to do before I finally finished up that quest. So then we finally went and did Goblin Diplomacy, which actually only took about 5 minutes. It was actually a super quick quest, and we went on back to Lumbee and finally started the Lost Tribe, which I still have not finished yet, and I've pretty much just done the first few steps of, but at least we're done the prereqs now, so that's cool. Then on our next visit to Varrock, we headed over to do the dig site quest, and my god, this has to be the longest, most tedious quest I have done so far. The amount of times that I have had to run back and forth between the testing lady and the mining area, I have just absolutely lost count of at this point. Also, if someone in the comments wants to tell me what this big red tear in the ground is all about, please let me know, because I'm like super curious. But anyways, back to the dig site quest. I swear it's just the culmination of everything I don't like about this game. Like, I had to do pickpocketing multiple times, and if you've been keeping up on this series, you know I do not like pickpocketing. And then we went underground with some ropes, but of course there was some rocks in the ways. Then I had to go back up, make a potion that'll make the rocks explode. Then I finally was able to get the treasure and finish up the quest. Jesus. At least there was a silver lining at the end, because we got like a ton of mining XP. So I went to chronicle back to Varrock only to realize I didn't have it equipped, and when I ran to the bank to check, it was also missing from there, so I'm really starting to think I lost it on death, as well as the scrying orb. So I went to go finish up the biohazard quest, and it's actually been a pretty interesting quest, because it turns out the plague has been a complete lie this entire time. It turns out it was actually the king's plan all along, because he built the wall around West Ardougne to basically keep his evil brother or something locked inside. Which I can understand, but I also feel like from a moral perspective, walling in a bunch of people and telling them there's a plague and forcing them to wear gas masks all day is questionable. It's time, boys. The time has finally come to get the Ardougne cape. We did it, boys. We finally did it. This, not gonna lie, feels like the biggest achievement I've made in this game so far, and it feels good. I mean, it really feels like I'm making some serious prog now. Like, maybe this is still considered very early game to some people, but I mean, for me, like, I have a cool-ass helmet now, a super cool cape, which gives me free teleports to Ardougne whenever I want. I feel like from all the quests I've been doing, I've been unlocking so many areas of the world, I've been unlocking pathways, and I just feel like everything is starting to open up for me now, and it is a really awesome feeling. So if you want to continue along with me in my journey and follow this series, definitely do subscribe and give this video a like. Every single one does help the algorithm and helps push these videos out, so I appreciate all the support I can get. And I will see you guys in the next one.